TYSN would like to thank Football Ontario for its support of the Touchdown Ontario program.
The Youth Sports Network presents Touchdown Ontario with Devin Gilmore McNeil.
Welcome back to Touchdown Ontario's OSFL Roundup here at the U18 Varsity Division, joined by a very special guest, Adam Melrose from London Football TV. Adam, first and foremost, just wanted to say thank you for all the coverage that you provide for the London Junior Mustangs and other teams there in the southwest of Ontario. It's been great to see this year how many games you've been able to get out to.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure being here. And if there's a game happening in and around London, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to be on a camera somewhere doing something, right? So I think it's been a real privilege to be able to share, some of this amazing football that's happening in Ontario for sure.
Yeah, and there's been some great games this year already that I've seen you post on London Football TV's YouTube and Instagram and socials. Let's just start with last weekend's game. I mean, it was a huge game. London hosting Kingston, Kingston was an undefeated team prior to that, and London won pretty handily there and kind of showed that they're a top 2 to 3 team in the U18 AAA varsity division. What were your takeaways from that game? Probably being kind of a statement win for the Mustangs.
Yeah, it was. As with anything, the wonderful thing about the OSFL, I'm actually not sure if it's a rule that you have to share film, but I love how much everybody does share film. And I'm a proponent of that at any level. I coach high school as well too, and sometimes you got to fight a guy for film. But I said I'd rather know 9 out of your 10 moves before we get to the field because it's going to make for a great football game. And in the case of the OSFL, there's great film. From most clubs, so we get some stuff that's filmed from underneath a rain cover and it's way zoomed out. But for the most part, most clubs have really good film, which I think there's a whole other YouTube channel that I'm thinking of starting of just like how to film better football, right? Because for very selfish reasons, these kids need good film for to get recruited. So back to your question. Certainly we had great film on Kingston. We're able to really have a look at kind of their tendencies and really prepare for that game. And, I didn't envy those guys. They had, a 5-6 hour bus ride and it was hot and we were playing at 2:30 so that they could return home. It's 6 hours on a bus and then you get a nice hour long, warm up in 33-degree weather. And then you get to play the London Junior Mustangs in their barn, at Western with the music banging and tons of crowds. And it's a really great scene. So I think, going into that game, we definitely didn't want to sleep on the Grands. Like they look good on film. We identified a few things, but that's true of any game, and I think offensively and defensively, the preparation going into that game was pretty good. And, our defense is very stout. We've got some big names on that side of the ball for sure. And it was tough for Kingston to move the ball. Certainly in the highlight reel, I tried to make it look a little, even, but it was an overall dominant performance from the Junior Mustangs. And certainly I'm a little biased because I'm part of the club. But if you watch the full game film, it shows that, they moved the ball fair. But our guys had their number for sure that day.
Yeah, no, for sure, and it was definitely a statement win for the Stangs there. But let's look back at the first 6 weeks of the season and specifically at London's U18 team. Only loss coming to Essex, which is always a highly anticipated matchup. I believe they won by 3 points. So anytime that those two clubs play, especially at that level, it's going to be a 3 to 7 point game no matter what, right? And that was a huge game. You were at that game in Essex, I believe, right? You did a stream of that game.
Yeah. Something a little different I was doing this year is, I'm usually there, doing a cut up for a highlight reel anyways. And a lot of parents would always ask, like, is there a way I can watch this when you're on the road? So I literally just started bringing a little streaming box with me and saying, okay, cool, whatever the highlight reel camera's getting will just be a live stream, which is getting a great response. I think anytime you get to watch it, right? And what I found convenient is even the Essex game. I think that was the weekend Hamilton and someone else had a game on the Sunday, and we were playing Saturday. So in the chat are all these people from Hamilton because they're obviously watching the stream, right? Because they're going to be playing us at some point. But yeah, the joke around here, and I have fond respect for Coach Mills and the Essex program. I love it. It's old school football. And our joke here in London, or anytime we do a broadcast, is it doesn't matter if it's two old ladies playing bridge. There's going to be a fight if it's London versus Windsor, right? So it's I always look forward to that matchup, whether it's here or down the 401 in Windsor.
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate it just as a fan to see you being able to get out to those games and throw a stream up, especially for a game of that magnitude, like you just said. I mean, could be playing bridge, curling, anything, right? And
Yeah.
it's going to be a rivalry. It's going to get chippy, right? Um,
Yeah.
but let's talk a little bit more about what I consider to be kind of the three-headed beast coming out of the West, which is Hamilton, Essex, and London. Um,
Mhm.
just three clubs with so much history and so much success over the years. Hamilton got off the schneid last year and was able to win it all in Essex, right?
Yep.
What do you think makes those three clubs specifically, and also Cambridge, and there's some other teams too, but this year it really looks like a three-headed beast. What do you think makes those three clubs so special, and kind of what they do day to day, the players that they recruit, the coaching that they're able to provide? What makes it so good in that area of Ontario, where the talent is?
Yeah, I think obviously Western being a powerhouse, we're very fortunate that we've got our key group of coaches at Junior Mustangs, but then at every position group, there's one, two, sometimes three current university players that are there helping coach as well. And what's really amazing about it, I've been a position coach in every part of the defense on many Junior Mustangs teams, and have head coached it. And it's always great, but you're a dad, to these kids. But when they've got a 21, 22, 23-year-old guy who's in the program right now, their third, fourth year at uni, and they're getting coaching from them, and that kid's at the step they want to get to, they emulate what those university kids are doing. And the fact that we're, at the stadium and we're practicing on turf, it's the same speed as game day. And you've got this wealth of knowledge coaching up the team at Junior Mustangs. It's massive, and I think that really creates a good foundation for what's happening on the team. And then let's go down the 401 to Windsor. Same thing, right? They're at Windsor University. They've got connections to the university. I fond respect for the Cicelli family that are helping and doing a lot of recruiting here in London too, trying to take kids to Windsor, and they're getting a lot of them. But it's great. And then you go to Hamilton, and there's the McMaster connection. So I think we're very fortunate with these three clubs that we've got the facilities and the coaching that really brings the kids to the next level. I know the Cambridge guys really well too, and I know they've had a bit of a roller coaster when it comes to general management and coaching and ownership and all this stuff, right? But you always get a good solid game out of Cambridge too. And I found that the more I move east, or anytime we've coached against teams more east of here, there's never a shortage of talent on a lot of the teams. But my observations as a coach on the sidelines is there just doesn't seem to be as a tight knit group of coaches on the sidelines. There's nothing worse than when we're on the same side of the field, especially, and you just hear the other coaches arguing with each other on the other end of the bench, right? And I've been a head coach at LGM with the younger ages, and I've been involved before, and you really have to have one, two, three max voices on the sideline. And when you've got nine guys screaming over there, so it's not a slam on other teams. I think it's as a coaching staff, you got to come together. And I think when you look at Hamilton, London, Windsor, nobody's louder than Glenn Mills, bless his heart, right? So when you go to a Windsor game, you're going to hear that guy's voice. And I think even on the stream, I was up on the berm, which is across from the stands. You could still hear his voice just cutting through. But that's it, right? And because there's that, let's all drink the same Kool-Aid, right? And I think that's what makes sense. So yeah, the short answer to your question is just connection to the university programs and really good coaching at all three programs in the top three side of things right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's dive deeper into this, U18 London team. Let's get really into it, and let's discuss, because from an outside perspective, the two quarterback duo of DJ Fonte throwing lasers to the very talented receiving group, and then you
Hmm.
bring in excuse me, And then you bring in 99, who I think believe Andre Thompson, is that his name?
Yep.
You bring
Yep.
him in to do these quarterback sweeps, and I'm sitting there thinking, if I'm playing linebacker and I see 99 take the ball out on a sweep, I'm running the other way.
You're right.
But let's discuss. I feel like the offense has been so exciting this year from watching from a fan's point of view, seeing DJ come in, find his receivers who are very talented, and then see Andre come in and do these runs. It's been a sight to see from your perspective as a coach and as London Football TV. What has made the offense specifically so special this year?
Yeah, I think this year there's this core group of 2006 age kids that I had a championship with years ago, and the core unit is still there, and DJ Fonte is the head of that. And I think what's exciting is you've got timing and rhythm and just a really good connection with the offensive unit right now. Like you said, the receiver crew is they're too deep at each location or at least each position. It's amazing. And then DJ being back this year, having been sort of hurt from getting hurt in the red black game a couple years ago. Swift stepped up last year, did a decent job. Obviously got us to where we needed to be. But the vision that DJ's had from such a young age has been amazing. Now, the unfortunate part for DJ now is he's got to have vision over 6'4" O linemen, because we've got a pretty large O line too, who won offensive player of the week this week, which is amazing. So I think DJ has a really good job of or does a really good job of commanding that unit and being a leader. And there's just no BS with him. It's just, guys, here's what we're running, and has really stepped up in the last couple of games. And then on the flip side, having a guy like Dre, who starts as an outside linebacker or a DN for us, to be able to say, "Hey man, do you mind just stepping in and just making magic happen for a play?" It's a nice card to have in your back pocket at any time. Obviously, at South High School, they won it all this year too, and when I coach high school ball here in town too, and it's one of those things you're always you're prepping for Dre. Um, and he is a very, very dynamic player. And if you could tell him, yeah, hey, we're running sweep left, but who knows what's going to happen when things go sideways. Uh, and what's crazy about it too is there's another horse in the stable, which is Aiden Sweeney. And Aiden Sweeney is a fantastic quarterback and has gotten in and later in the game in a lot of this games this season so far. And he's just equally qualified as DJ. So it's yeah, a terrible problem to have. Three guys who you could put at that pivot position and just know that you can get the job done. So it's been a blessing on the offensive side of things this year for sure.
Yeah. Um, let's talk about what London specifically has to do to get over the hump and win it all at the highest level this year at the U18 age group. So last year, obviously a bit of a disappointing season. They still won a championship. It was just the Tier 2 championship. Obviously, a team of London's caliber wants to compete for that Tier 1 championship. So in your eyes, this season, what does London have to do to get over the hump, to beat an Essex, to beat a Hamilton at that grandest stage and become, Ontario Summer Football League provincial champions at the end of the year?
Yeah, absolutely. Last year, a little bittersweet. Certainly nice winning the KJ Academy Memorial Cup, due to our history with the late great KJ Academy. It was nice to win that one, but most certainly going into the B pool last year was a little shocking, right? And we had a couple of upsets last year that put us in that space. And I think if I compared last year's team to this year's team, um, unfortunately we had some egos on that team, and this year it is way more of a cohesive unit, and everybody's working towards that same goal, and we don't have a whole lot of lone wolves on the team. I guess probably the nicest way to put it, right? So I think looking at the last two games of the season, I think we did very well against Oakville last time. They didn't even really move the ball or score on us until we put our second and third string guys in late in the game. So I think our road game against Oakville comes out successful. And then the test will be Hamilton. And, there's a lot of talk right now, like, oh, they got 12 guys going to TMO. But yeah, those are, for the most part, probably first year guys. So don't discount, they still have all their second year guys. So I think the Hamilton game will be a real test of, can we take it to that level, right? A win or a very close game against Hamilton, I think, paints a good picture of what our playoff or what the Junior Mustangs playoff run will be like. Um, and I think even in the Essex game, I had a really good chat with Coach Glenn Mills afterwards the next day. And we both admitted, hey, both defenses played amazing, which is usually true, and both offenses played real sloppy. So I think, had we been able to connect a little bit better on offense in Essex, I think that was a very winnable game. And I think each side of the ball was just playing it really safe. Like if you watch obviously you watch the film,
Yep.
right? And there wasn't a whole lot of just big time plays. And I think with Essex too is they have always had a very dynamic quarterback who's been able to just again make magic happen too. And I'm not seeing that this year from them. And I think that's been the difference where like they'd run draw on you every play if they could with the guys in the past where I just wasn't seeing that this year. But not to say that doesn't happen in the playoffs too, because they're holding off, right? So I think for us to make that run and get to that champ game, which I would love to see, obviously love to cover as well too, is that London's on a really good trajectory right now. I think a win against Hamilton just really propels that forward. And I think it's just you got to be near perfect in the game against Hamilton, and then just roll that in and probably see them again in the finals. It would be my prediction.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
if you look back at that Essex London game that you were able to cover, thankfully, and we got to see, I seen a play there at the end, some sort of Hail Mary attempt from London
Yeah.
that was an incredible catch. I mean, amazing catch, and it was called back. So it was really a matter of inches because if he makes that, well, if that catch stands, you're right in field goal range. We're looking at an overtime game or even maybe a London win, right? So that's how close it really is in the
Oh
West,
yeah.
right? Like it's that close. It's a matter of one play a game with Hamilton,
Yeah.
with Essex, with London, with even Cambridge. Like Cambridge could win against any of these teams at any time too, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's been great to see the league as a whole. And last year at the U18 level, it was really kind of a tale of two teams. We kind of knew it was going to be Hamilton versus Essex. This year, you got London, you got Hamilton, you got Essex, you still got Durham, who's undefeated.
Mhm.
Granted, probably a little bit weaker of a schedule, but you never know, right? Like none of these
Oh
teams have
yeah.
played them yet, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see, and I think we're both excited to see. Obviously, you have your roots. You're cheering for London for sure. Obviously, I'm from Cornwall. I'm cheering for Cornwall. Hopefully, we
Yeah.
can we can get a huge upset win in the playoffs. But it's going to be, I think, more of an interesting postseason this season at the U18 AAA division rather than last season.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's still a lot of unknowns, and it's tough when as you head into the summertime too. You got kids on vacation. You've got injuries that happen. It's getting hotter too, and kids are wearing out faster in the game. So you just never know what you're going to get out of a game. And I mean, last year, I think our last game in the schedule last year too was Hamilton, and that was an insane game. We got lightning stormed out for an hour and a half, and it was looking like we were going to win, and then they pulled it off at the last. So I think it's going to be a great game. We'll be covering it live on LFTV for sure. That and the U16 game that day because obviously we're expecting big things, and we'll get Ron and Coach Schneider on there too from the Beefs on the call. So yeah, I think it's going to be a real exciting end of the season and as things progress here. And I mean, some guys have already had buys, so we have a pretty good idea of what's going on. I think Essex just has one more game. Hamilton's got two. We've got two, and then yeah, we'll see where it all lands for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, but before I let you go, Adam, maybe we can just touch on some of the younger groups, and I know you're pretty involved there as well as far as filming and knowing what's going on.
Yeah,
So you look at London as a whole and across all levels, and they've been very successful at all levels. Kind of wanted to jump over U16 for now and touch on the U14 AAA team, which is
yep.
7-0 and kind of spearheaded towards a championship berth if all things remain the same. You've obviously got to see some of those games. What has impressed you the most at that age group, still being undefeated this late into the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the U14 team has the benefit of it almost being an all-star team from the London Minor Association here in town. And I know there's other cities that have minor football programs. I've coached London Minor for 15 years too, and it's amazing to see the amount of kids that are on that U14 AAA team that were on the winning LMFA team this year. and coaching staffs and everything. So there's a familiarity. When I won at U14 because it was the same thing. I had kids that I'd been coaching for 7 years. You add in all the all-star team kids, and then you go and you play at a provincial level in the summertime. And I think I've been just really impressed, like just the level of play you're getting from that U14 team. I think they've only allowed 40 some odd points too in 7 games, which is amazing. There's a few kids that I've coached there too that were on both the AA team and the AAA team on my past fall team at the Lucas Hammers or the Hammers team. So I think you'll see a really good growth out of that team, and that's going to carry into the U16 and then just kind of keep moving up because they got a huge roster there at U14 as well too. And the fact that they were able to run a AAA and a AA this year at U14, that just shows you the numbers. And I think there were still 20 some odd kids that didn't end up getting a spot and they filled 2 other rosters. So football is very healthy in the city of London, and the beautiful thing about that U14 AAA just means high school ball is going to be really good at the junior level this year because all those kids will filter down. And I've been keeping notes because I coach junior.
Okay.
So I think, well, I'm senior, but mainly junior. So I think, yeah, that at that U14 level, I expect one more big game out of them for sure. And I would be kind of blown away if we didn't see them really go the distance at that level. But it looks like Cumberland's probably the second highest there with way more points for and similar against, right?
Yeah, so I was just about to say, it's interesting to hear the dynamic there in London as far as it being a local league all-star team, because that's exactly
Hmm.
what it is at Cumberland. It's we have NACAFA here in Ottawa, which Cornwall plays in, and all that stuff, and it's basically just all the good kids from all the different teams playing on that team. So I'm really
Yep.
interested. That's actually one of the things I'm most excited about this season, is seeing that matchup, the Cumberland versus London matchup at U14. That's one of the most exciting things I have on the horizon for sure. That'll be a great
Absolutely.
game. But yeah, no, I think I noticed that too, and that London team at double A at U14 is good too. Like they're like
Yeah.
4-2 or 5-2 or something, and you know what I mean. Those are the kids that are probably maybe need a little bit more time to develop their skills and stuff, but they're still winning games down there.
Oh yeah.
So it's crazy to see how successful. You can see how London football is amazing at all levels, right? You even see the U12s and the U10s always very successful. They're having a blast, right? It's basically just funneled up through the top, right? I mean, like all the success at the top breeds the success at the bottom, or vice versa. So it's been awesome to see this season.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, right? There's in the LMFA side of it, I don't know what the numbers look like out there, but it's 8 teams with a minimum of like 30 kids on it that they then get to pick, 55 kids or 45 kids or whatever they want to roster at that AAA. So, and you know what you're getting, and then obviously they all go into the winter camps and everything, and it's pretty special. And it's been exciting to watch those games. Like obviously I'm there up on the press box and getting a tan, filming all these games. But when the U14s are warming up, it's always exciting to see them hit the field, um, and they probably have some of the biggest attendance at their games too. Is that U14 AAA, right? Obviously, it gets a little less as the kids get older because they're driving themselves and things like that. But yeah, mom, dad, grandpa, like the U14s in the stands at Western are full. So it's really exciting on game day when we're there at Western.
So last thing, Adam, does the varsity team get it done this year? I'm going to ask you. Obviously, your boy plays for the team. I'm going to put you
Yep.
on the spot. Do the junior Mustangs get it done? I'm specifically talking about varsity.
Yeah, absolutely. U18 AAA, Coach Greg Wilson, our head coach, just, the first thing he said at camp was championship is the one and only goal this season is getting it done. And I think we had a little dip in the game. We had the loss to Essex, and then that was a good little punch in the mouth to get everybody just kind of re-energized. And then our schedule for the second half is nice to just get everybody moving, getting everybody a lot of reps. And I think smart play and just taking 0 plays off wins this thing. And I think London's an absolute contender, and I can't wait to cover them winning this thing in August.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Adam. Where can people find you? Where can people find London Football TV and watch all the great stuff you guys do?
Yeah, 100%. Short clips on Instagram, just London Football TV, and same thing on YouTube. It's youtube.com/London Football TV, or just look up London Football TV, and that'll get you to where you need to be.
Awesome. Everybody, make sure you go check out London Football TV. They do great stuff. I love watching as a fan each week whenever you're at games. I really appreciate it, Adam. Thanks for your time, and good luck to the London Junior Mustangs this rest of the season.
Absolutely. Thank you, Devin. It's been a pleasure.
TYSN would like to thank Area 51 for its support of the Touchdown Ontario program.